Bam! There it is.
Hello,
Hello,
hello.
everyone, and welcome into the YARD39 podcast. This is episode 2, featuring myself, Lancelot Gaming, and my co-host, SwagMonstaFlexx. Swag, say what up.
What up, people? How we doing? How we living?
How's everybody out there doing today? We're here to talk about some football after a crazy week 1 in the NFL season. It definitely didn't go the way that I thought it would, but yeah, let's get it rolling. All right, Swag, so what did you think? What do you want to bring up first?
I mean, first and foremost, welcome everybody to the Pod 39 podcast, and we're glad to be here. And it's gonna be a fun podcast. We're doing week to week. We're gonna be alternating channels. So this week it's on Lance. Next week it'll be with me. But man, it was a crazy week 1, man. A lot of I think the most shocking thing was to see the Packers go down to New Orleans
Oh
and,
man.
and take the absolute thrashing that they did. I thought that was something nobody was expecting. And on the flip side, to see Jameis play so well, so that was fun to see. I thought a lot of games lived up to like a lot of hype. I thought that the Bucks Cowboys game was better than expected on Thursday night.
It
You
really
know, I
was, actually. I
I thought the
completely
Chiefs
agree.
and Bills lived up to the hype. There was some good games throughout week 1, and I was happy to see it. There's some surprises in some games were kind of played as we expected. So
Absolutely. Completely agree. There were definitely some big upsets. So what I'm just now realized, actually I can scroll up here a little bit. Um, we both had some game picks that we did last week. And I was looking over it I think yesterday, and your picks were definitely a lot more accurate than I am. There were a lot more what I would consider upsets this week than I definitely
Mhm.
thought would happen, and you were pretty right on the money for the most part, actually.
Let's review. So we said Cowboys, Bucks. Uh, Lance, you said 31 to 14. I said 28-27. I mean, we're both kind of off. That one was kind of tossed up there.
A lot
Uh,
closer than I thought that was going to be. Dak actually
yeah.
looked great.
Dude, you were almost spot on the Chiefs Browns game though. 31-27 to my 35-17.
Yeah, I think I definitely thought that was going to be a little bit more competitive than you did. I think
Yep.
I give the Browns a little bit of credit. I mean, honestly, they still have one of the best defenses in football, and I think Baker's really starting to come into his own now.
I was happy to see uh I think we picked right on a lot of the games. I went with the Eagles 20 to 14. Lance, you took the Falcons 24-21.
I was
The Falcons literally just got destroyed in that game.
I was definitely very wrong about that. I don't know, man. I just thought new offensive coordinator in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I thought Matt Ryan is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. The Eagles, they play in the worst division in football. I really expected more out of the Atlanta Falcons than what we ended up getting.
What'd you end up thinking? What was your thoughts on the Steelers Bills game? Let's kind of dive into that one a little further. I mean, we predicted it. We both said Bills. Um, I said 21 to 10. Lance said 24 to 13. We both were wrong. It was a bit higher scoring than that.
Absolutely.
I don't have the final score of that game in front of me. I can look it up here.
23 to
Um,
16 Pittsburgh.
23 to 16 Pittsburgh. So we're close on the score. We just reversed on what we were thinking. So,
Yeah.
um, what'd you think about Pittsburgh coming out and beating the Bills? Did you lose any faith in the Bills after that game, or where's your head at?
I don't know if I lost faith in them. So I was watching Good Morning Football this morning, and Kyle Brandt, one of their co-hosts, he always says something about Week 1 of the NFL season, which I think is super true, and that's that Week 1 is a liar. Um, a lot of teams look really good Week 1 and end up, losing the rest of the year, and a lot of teams look really bad and ends up bouncing back. I don't think you can put too much stock into really anything that happens in week 1. Like, as an example, week 1 last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got the doors blown off of them by the New Orleans Saints, and they go on to win the
Right,
Super Bowl. The
right.
Jacksonville Jaguars won their first game of the season last year, and they ended up losing like what 13 total games or something like that.
Yeah,
So I
but the next
mean,
14 games, right?
yeah, exactly. So I don't really think you can put too much stock in anything that happens week one. However, that being said, I definitely did expect Buffalo to show up better than they did. I think, maybe it was just all the hype from the media and everything that was going on, but so many people are talking about, Josh Allen as an MVP front runner and the Bills is, lock him up for the AFC title game and top two, top three, best team in the conference. So maybe I was just drinking a little bit of the Kool Aid too, you know what I mean? But I definitely expected Buffalo to play better. Josh Allen actually looked really average to me for most of that game. Their entire team did really. And as far as Pittsburgh goes, I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if they end up having like the number one defense in all of football by the time that the year is done. Like,
Yeah, the the defense looks stout. I remember watching the game. The defense looked stout the entire game. I think Big Ben came out a little bit shaky toward at the beginning. He just
mm-hmm.
kind of was average. Some of his throws were kind of offbeat, not where they needed to be, weren't as accurate as we've seen Big Ben be in the past. But I think the second half he might have calmed down a little bit or just got warmed up maybe. Might just took him a little bit of juice to get flowing. And he kind of really came into his own, and I think that's when you saw the Steelers kind of start pulling away and sealed that game in that. So,
Absolutely.
um,
Nope.
overall, yeah, I think the Steelers defense is going to do enough to carry throughout the season to get them into the playoffs, and I think that'll be the extent of it. I could see them as an early playoff team. But I think the game really, I mean, it's defense wins championships, but to get there, I think you need to have a good offense. So, that's kind of where I see it going.
So it is just week one, obviously. There's still a lot of football left to be played. However, with how good the Browns still looked against Kansas City and with how banged up Baltimore is, do you see the Steelers winning their division this year?
I'm not as I think Baltimore will figure it out. I think the Ravens have they have a good coach, good quarterback, and a defense that'll come around. I think the Raiders can kind of get pass happy, kind of get hot like that. They do have what is his Marcus Henry the third or whatever his name
Oh,
is there.
Henry Ruggs, yeah.
Yeah, Henry Ruggs the third. And we've seen Carr air it out in the past and actually be an above average quarterback. Um, I so I wouldn't be surprised though if the Ravens kind of figure it out, Lamar kind of gets that offense where it needs to be, and ultimately the Ravens kind of pull that one out.
Daddy Larp in the chat. The loss against the Bucks is going to be the Cowboys' best performance all season.
100%.
I don't know. To be completely honest with you, I was actually pretty impressed with the way that entire team performed. I think their defense definitely played a lot better than I thought it would. I thought Tampa Bay was easily going to score 40 points, but I think they can pull it together. Another game I did want to talk about, though, one that I probably found maybe to be the most surprising outcome, was the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Minnesota Vikings. It did take them overtime to do it, but man, that game was a lot more competitive than I thought it would be. And you actually, Swags, you picked that game right. I thought the Vikings would be able to steamroll the Bengals. I thought that was actually going to be a pretty easy win for them, and I was wrong. What did you think about that game?
Man, I wasn't super shocked to see that happen. I'm just a kind of believer in what the Bengals have going on. I still don't think they're a very well ran team, but I think at the end of the day that Joe Burrow is going to do enough, and is a good enough quarterback to get them to 8 or 9 wins this season. I think he's that good. I think just having him on a team guarantees you an extra 2, 3 wins, 2, 3 wins a year. Along with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase looks like the real deal. He had a great game.
Absolutely.
Tyler Boyd is obviously still there. They have an okay offensive line. I can't speak their defense too much. I haven't watched too much of it, but I think at the end of the day, I think they have some good momentum overall, and also Joe Mixon, who
Right.
was drafted a few years ago, hasn't really kind of been quite the spark he's expected to, but he's been steady. I could see this being a breakout here for him. I mean, he had a great week 1. I don't know off the top of my head, but let's look at his stats here. So yeah, Joe Mixon on 29 attempts, 127 yards, a 4.4 average, 1 touchdown, no fumbles. Not bad for week 1. So I think they rely on him, have a decent running game, and Joe Burrow to kind of run the play action, run the offense. I think they can do some things. So I'm also just not a big believer in Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. On the flip side, I think he's always been average. I've never ever thought he's been good. I think he's just a hey, I get my ass beat, and then I throw, when the defense lets up in the fourth quarter, I throw the ball down the field. So,
hung in the pocket, couldn't move him off the spot.
I wasn't shocked to see any of it. What are your thoughts, Ben?
Well, so one thing I think that I didn't account for was I forgot that Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow played together in college, didn't they?
Yeah.
I didn't really consider that there was that, already that chemistry between them. So I thought that would definitely take a little bit more to develop. And then just, I don't know, I looked at my pick wasn't necessarily as much as bad as I thought the Bengals were. I guess I just put a little bit more stock into how good I thought that the Minnesota Vikings were. Dalvin Cook is one of the best running backs in the league. They have a great receiving core, you know what I mean? Justin Jefferson, their rookie from last year is still great. And then defensively, I think that they've always been stout. So not even that I think that the Vikings are going to be world beaters in anything. I just thought, with the inexperience of the Bengals team, with how young they are versus, a Vikings team that's been there and done that for the most part and does have some really, really talented players. I thought that they'd be able to put up a more competitive game than that. Every single team in the NFC North lost, though. So, really the Vikings, still could easily end up winning that division.
Who's in that division one more time for me? We got the Minnesota,
Green Bay, Detroit, and Chicago are all in the NFC North.
God, what a terrible division.
Well, I definitely didn't think it would be. Aaron Rodgers won MVP last year. The Packers went to the NFC Championship game, and I think the Vikings also made the playoffs last year too. So the fact that entire division went winless this week is honestly kind of crazy to me, especially with how bad Aaron Rodgers looked against New Orleans. Did you want to get into that?
Yes, I would have loved to get into that. Why don't you take this one away first, and I'll kind of follow up with my thoughts, man.
Okay.
Overall, what did you think?
Man, I guess where do you even start? So this is, most people seem to agree, even though that Aaron Rodgers signed a new deal just recently. This is probably still going to be his last year in Green Bay, right? Most people think he's, just kind of done. This is going to be his last ride. So right. I thought, they would come out with a fire under them, you know what I mean? I thought that they'd want to, prove that they are a great team. They got so close to the Super Bowl last year. They have a great coaching staff. They have a lot of good players. I know that they have a good team. So for them to just get absolutely demolished the way that they did, I did not see that coming at all. Crazy stat that I saw, Aaron Rodgers only threw 5 interceptions all of last season. He had 2 against the Saints. His passer rating was, I think, the lowest in a single game in his entire career. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's an attitude thing. I don't know if it's because Aaron Rodgers is just tired of being there. I don't know if he didn't, prepare or practice the way that he usually would. Or maybe we need to give New Orleans more credit and just say, they did everything right and, made Aaron Rodgers and that offense play as bad as they did. Jameis Winston, like you said at the start of the show, just absolutely crazy. I think he only threw for 150 yards. He didn't have a crazy statistical
and 5
game, but he threw 5 touchdown passes exactly. So even though he wasn't, airing it out all the time, he was still efficient. He didn't turn the ball over a single time, I don't think.
No turnovers.
And then, still got Alvin Kamara. Their defense is still great. And what's crazy is they put up this 38 points without Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas started the season on the physically unable to perform list. So, they beat Green Bay down like that without one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League, and I think that's just absolutely crazy. Um, this actually, now that I'm looking at the scores and everything again, this was actually probably my most surprising outcome of the week. Absolutely.
Were are you higher on New Orleans as a result, or are you more down on the Packers as a result?
So, like I said a little while ago, I don't like to put too much stock into anything that happens week one. I think week one is a crazy week. It's a lot of teams is, first time live action, with everybody coming at you, still a lot of rookies learning the system and everything. Week one, I think, is just usually crazy. That being said, I think if Jameis can play as efficiently as he did in this game, if he can play this way all year, I think the Saints are easily going to be a playoff team. I think they're going to be able to give Tampa Bay a lot of trouble in a run for the NFC South crown. And, you might be looking at a team that's capable of making a deep playoff run, which is crazy considering that Drew Brees just retired. I thought they'd need like a year or two to rebound, but clearly Sean Payton's an amazing head coach, and they've still got a stacked roster. So
Are you buying stock in Jameis Winston?
man, that's so hard because as well as he played on Sunday, I still have that 30-30 year that he had his last year starting in Tampa Bay. I still have that taste in my mouth. You know what I mean? So I think I need to see a little bit more consistent production from him, because he's had really good games in the past, and then the next week gone out and thrown 4 or 5 interceptions in a game.
Right.
So I'm not going to put too much stock in him right now. I need to see them be a little bit more consistent on a week-to-week basis. I was extremely impressed, though. Here's a good question. Were you more impressed in the Saints, or were you more surprised by how bad Green Bay played?
I think I was more surprised by how bad Green Bay played. I think the Saints have a great defense. I wasn't shocked by the fact that they were able to contain Aaron Rodgers because he is, or at least slow him down a little bit.
Right.
They ended up doing more than that, but not wasn't shocked by it. I just think they have a great defense. I think but to see I read a stat earlier in the week that Aaron Rodgers had over 2 point on the 2 interceptions that he threw. He had over 2.5 seconds to throw them, which means he had a clean pocket. He wasn't getting rushed. Just overall making poor decisions in the pocket. So, and I think a lot of it, with everything going on in the offseason with the Packers, just kind of may have threw them off kilter. What made it maybe served as a distraction. Talking about the Last Dance, kind of just taking the maybe some of their competition for granted, and their own team's talents for granted, and forgetting that hey, these are professional football players you're playing on the other side of the line there. So, just having that in the back of your mind, I think they just came up flat, unready, unprepared, physically, mentally, and I think they have some work to do. I think they have the talent and everything to turn it around. I think they have a stacked roster. I think they have decent defense. Obviously, they have Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, the receiver that's there. Why am I blanking on his name right now? Lance, what's his name?
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams.
I almost blanked on it too for a second.
Probably the best. If not top 3 receiver in the game right now.
I could agree with that.
Aaron Rodgers, who was just the MVP last year. I just see them doing some things and turning around. So, I was more shocked by the Packers' performance, but I'm not losing any hope or momentum in how I think they're going to perform this season. I think they're going to do some good things. So
I completely agree. Okay, and then as far as other really surprising scores, I think for the most part everything else in the league played out the way that I thought it was going to. The only thing I really see here that kind of caught me off guard was the Arizona Cardinals beating the Tennessee Titans the way that they did.
Dousing the Tennessee Titans like the way they did. Yeah,
38-13. I mean, like, I'm not saying Arizona's a bad football team, but I definitely would have expected that game to be a lot more close and competitive than it was, and I definitely thought the Titans would have had the upper hand. If you want to go into this one and give your thoughts.
yeah. I'm a big believer in Kyler Murray. I think he has a spark. I think he has kind of that same X factor mentality. I think he's a winner. I think he's a gamer as a quarterback. I think he's smart. I think he's athletic. I think he can make all the throws, and I think he can do everything he needs to do to get his team into a position to win. And with AJ Green there, with
DeAndre
not
Hopkins.
yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, again another top three receiver,
Mm-hmm.
a good offensive line. It's his third year with the head coach there.
Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury there. Who is an offensive minded coach. I wouldn't be surprised to see them in the playoffs this year. I think Kyler Murray has all the makings to be an elite quarterback in this league. And to carry that team where it needs to go. I think the only thing that can really get in there I think the only thing that can get in their way is coaching and defense. I think the offense will be there with Kyler Murray at the helm.
Kind of like Bob's is saying in the chat. I mean, after Kyler Murray's sophomore season, I didn't think was that impressive, but he looks like he's ready to take that next step finally this year, and take the league over, and I'm excited to see that happen.
And the guy has wheels, right? I mean,
Really.
he can move out of the pocket. He can make all the throws. He's elusive. I think he's a top-notch quarterback, and I just don't. I just see him with he has enough around him right now for that team to just be average overall. So I think they have some good things going for him. I was a little surprised in Tennessee's end, being kind of a Mike Vrabel type team. They're obviously supposed to have a stout defense there. But again, they still looked a little flat. Wasn't able to watch all that game. I did see some of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if we see Ryan Tannehill regress a little bit this year, and was he just kind of on a 2-year high? And did we kind of see him come back to what he was with the Miami?
Yeah, that's definitely possible. I guess I just thought with their receiving core, adding Julio Jones and then still having Derrick Henry, Taylor Lewan, their guard, I believe he was injured last year, and he's supposed to be finally back and healthy. And when he is healthy, he's one of the best, offensive linemen in the NFL. So
Yeah.
I really expected them to, especially offensively. I mean, only scoring 13 points to me was just wild, but a lot of that also had to do with the absolutely crazy performance that Chandler Jones had.
Right?
He had
5
five
sacks.
sacks in one game, which is a crazy statistic for anybody listening out there. If that doesn't sound like a lot, keep in mind that 23 and a half sacks is the NFL record for most in a single season, and Chandler Jones just had 5 in one game. So that's
You attribute that to him just playing the way he should, or and just coming out and balling, or bad offensive line play?
I think maybe it could be a combination of both, but I also think that he's in a contract year. I had heard rumors and rumblings all throughout the offseason that he was unhappy with his contract situation. He wanted to get extended, or maybe even threatening, demanding a trade and stuff like that. So I think he came out this week with a fire lit under him, and he wants to prove that he's worth the money that he's asking for, and don't sleep on me, I'm still here, wrecking house
Right.
kind of thing. So
Right.
also, another thing I wanted to bring up, as far as Derrick Henry goes, I have heard a lot of people, still really, really high on him, and for good reason. Derrick Henry is an amazing running back. However, I did see multiple different statistics that, one, considering his age, and two, considering off of the level of production that he's been getting in his career, especially coming after a 2,000-yard season, there's never been a 2,000-yard runner that's been able to repeat that. ever. And for the most part, they've all fallen off by a good 700 or 800 yards, I think. If the numbers that I looked at were correct, I think the most rushing yards a 2,000-yard runner has ever had the next season was 13 or 1,400, which is still a good 600, 700-yard fall off from the year before. So I think for those people that are expecting Derrick Henry to still lead the league in rushing, 6 yards a carry, have another 2,000-yard season or anything like that, I think you might need to pump the brakes a little bit, because running back is maybe the most violent position in football as far as taking hits and stuff like that. So he might not be able to reproduce the production that he put up last year. So that's something I think everybody needs to be mindful of.
If you don't think Derrick Henry is going to win the rushing title this year, who would be your next kind of 2 or 3 guys up?
Man, I would have to think Christian McCaffrey in Carolina, I think is a safe bet. Even though Dalvin Cook had that really bad fumble in overtime that let Cincinnati win, I still think Dalvin Cook is an absolutely amazing running back.
Right.
Man, the list of super top tier running backs is really small. I don't think Zeke can get it done. I mean, it's
why not Zeke?
He's just. So Zeke won a rushing title, I think 2 years in a row or something like that, or at least I think he's won 2 in his career. Yeah. I really just think that he was more so a product of that offensive line when he was playing. Because at the time he was drafted, the Cowboys had the most expensive, they had the best offensive line in football. They've had a lot of injuries and a lot of trades and stuff like that. And then he's also gotten a little bit older, apparently he's gotten better this year from what I've heard, but he also had a weight issue last year, just not showing up prepared and football shape. I think a lot of that is going to determine on, his willingness to be able to do everything that he needs to do, because he's not going to have the protection that he had in the younger days of his career. So he's going to have to try a lot harder to get that level of production again. So I don't think he's, washed up. I think he's still, maybe a top 10 running back in the NFL, but I don't think he's the best or a top 3 running back anymore.
Okay.
And then as far as Saquon goes, I mean, I want to put Saquon up there, but he also had a pretty mediocre performance against Denver on Sunday, and then he's, still pretty fresh off of his injury as well, so I think we might need to give him a little bit more time to get up and running. But if he can, hit his ceiling again this year, then I think he could definitely be in contention.
Do you think the Chiefs' Clyde Edwards-Helaire is just going to kind of be a middle-of-the-pack guy, or do you think he's kind of around this season?
I don't know, man. Especially being somebody that drafted him on his fantasy team, I was definitely hoping for a lot more from Clyde. But he's serviceable. He'll get you the 3, 4, 5 yards you need, on any given down.
Mm-hmm.
Would
you say he's a step down from Kareem Hunt?
Yeah, probably. Athletically speaking, yes, I would think so. I don't know if he has, so Kareem has that power, you know what I mean, where he can just run through people and keep going. I haven't really seen that from Clyde yet. You see it in flashes here and there, but I mean, Kareem would just run people over, and, not just one. He'd stiff-arm your face into the dirt or hurdle over you, you know what I mean? Kareem runs angry, Kareem runs with power, and he's also got, the speed to back that up. Clyde also is just in a system. I mean, when you have Patrick and Tyreek and Travis, we're not the kind of team that runs the ball 25 to 30 times a game. We just don't. So that's also gonna really hamper his production. Going forward, maybe, I would like to be wrong. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 as far as yardage goes. Maybe if you combined rushing and receiving yardage, that might be different. But if you're talking about just running yards, I don't think he's going to be a top 5 back this year, honestly.
Interesting.
What are your thoughts?
On Clyde, or in kind of the overall running back conversation that we're having currently?
Kind of the overall conversation.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying about Derrick Henry. I think it's one game. I think there's 17 games left, so I think I wouldn't be shocked if he still took the title this year. I think he still is a monster, and just someone who is not going to step out of his prime that quick, or I would be shocked to see it. I would at least expect him. I would be willing to bet he'll still be a top 3 running back in the league this year. With Saquon Barkley, I think all the talent is there. I I I think he's serviceable. I just don't see him as a running back that is really. I think if it was going to happen, it would have happened. I think he's had too many injuries at this point in his career. I just I kind of see the wheels falling off, and I just don't know that he's gonna. I don't know that he's gonna stay healthy enough to produce the way we thought he was coming out of Penn State. So, I think there's still Alvin Kamara with the Saints.
Oh, I did forget about Kamara.
Yeah, I think he's an excellent back, both catching and receiving the ball. If I could get any running back on the Chiefs, I think he would probably be my top pick because I think he fits in really well with what we'd want to do. And then there is Christian McCaffrey, who I think is a man amongst boys out there. Can catch the ball, run the ball, block. And is talented enough to do everything you want him to do out of the backfield. I think those are kind of my running backs. I'm thinking about. I think I think the jury is. I think the jury is out on Clyde. I think the Chiefs will be watching him closely this year. I would say if he doesn't if he doesn't have a productive year, at least rushing and receiving wise, I would expect the Chiefs to probably either cut him, or try to trade him, or try to do something with him in the offseason.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Chiefs, give him 2 good years, but I mean, if you don't see anything coming out of that early, I mean, I don't know. I think the Chiefs have an offensive line. They're gonna have to pay some people in the offseason. I guess he's not that expensive yet. But maybe if they can get some trade value for him.
I mean, yeah, he's still going to be on his rookie contract for the next 2 years, and then 3 even if they want to pick up his 5th-year option. So,
yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think he, if he doesn't yield a productive season beyond the offensive line that we have now, especially with it's not like people are stacking the box against the Chiefs. I think you got to be able to figure something out there.
Right.
As the Chiefs organization, so
that does make sense. I mean, I think our offense definitely was a little bit more potent when we had Kareem Hunt back in his prime and everything. Like
100%.
That was an absolutely fantastic balanced running attack versus passing attack. Which now looking at the Chiefs' offense, it definitely does feel much more pass heavy, much more. All on Patrick Mahomes' shoulders. I still think Clyde is good. I think, last year was his rookie season, and he also got hurt. He missed, 3-4 games due to injury.
Yeah, he did have flashes every now and then as well. So
yeah, he's still young. He's still learning, and I think he still has a lot of potential. But you're right. I mean, if he has a very middle, if he's, the 15th or 16th, best running back this season, I think maybe you might start looking for an upgrade. I could see that now that you said that, but I think give the young man some time. You know what I mean?
For sure. What did there was a couple other games that I was kind of watching closely. What did you think about the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer getting pretty doused by the Texans week 1 without Deshaun Watson? And what they have who's there now? It's
Trevor Lawrence.
No, with the Texans.
Oh, not Teddy Bridgewater.
No, Tyler Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor. Yep, there we go.
Yep. What do you think of that performance? What were your overall thoughts on that game?
To be completely honest with you, that still pretty much went exactly the way that I thought it would. Trevor Lawrence has it rough because if you get taken first overall, that usually means that you're going to be playing for a bad team, and unfortunately, that's just what the Jaguars are, man. I mean, offensively, defensively, special teams, I don't think they're really good in any of the three phases, and I think he's going to have a really, really rough ride this year. They're just not a good football team. I don't know a better way to say it. They make way too many mistakes, and they don't compete. You would think that without Deshaun Watson, and the Houston Texans are far from being the class of the NFL themselves. You know what I mean? Not exactly what you would call a great roster top to bottom, and they still lost by 2 scores. I mean, Trevor Lawrence did look good in flashes, but he also had, 3 interceptions, I think? 2 or 3 interceptions at least.
Yeah, something like that, yep.
He did look great in spots, but, I mean, he is still a rookie. He's still learning, and unfortunately, he's not throwing to DeAndre Hopkins or Tyreek Hill or Julio Jones, you know what I mean? So he's going to have a rough ride of it, man. The Jaguars, they just don't have a good roster. But if anything, I guess looking at it from a more positive light, maybe this will all be a very good learning experience for Trevor Lawrence, and hopefully through free agency and the draft next year, the Jaguars can really put together a talented roster around him, and then maybe we'll see him flourish. But I don't have very high hopes for him this year at all.
Yeah, are you a believer in Urban Meyer? Or I guess it's really early to tell.
Yeah.
And obviously week 1 doesn't do him a whole lot of justice, but we've seen a lot of NFL coaches, even Saban himself, try to jump onto the NFL league and not have successful careers.
Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly. What do you think the deal is going to be with Urban Meyer?
I'm kind of one of those people where history repeats itself, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Really, until proven otherwise, I kind of need to see it to believe it kind of thing. Again, it also doesn't help that their entire roster is just bad. So, I mean, I don't think that necessarily says anything about his ability to win as a coach because, Urban Meyer's for years and years and years was one of the best coaches in all of college football. So, I think the man can coach. I think he knows football and he knows what he's doing. Good coaching can only help so much, you know what I mean? You still need the players to be able to execute your game plan. So I think that whole organization, it's just going to be rough down in Jacksonville for a while, unfortunately. Like you said, though, one game isn't really enough to tell me much about him. I think the way that the entire season goes, if they end up going 2-15 again this year and have the number 1 overall pick again next year, I think that you definitely need to start looking at his value as a head coach and how, his ability to be able to coach up a team and, formulate a good game plan and stuff. But we still have some time before we get there. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for now.
Talking about coaching, I think this is a good transition. Do you think John Gruden should be on the hot seat?
Ooh, I was wondering when we were going to get to the Raiders Baltimore game. So, just as far as his whole tenure with the Raiders has gone, this is what, year 5, right? Of the massive
5 or 6, yeah.
Right, of the huge $100 million 10-year deal that he signed. And I don't think the Raiders have made the playoffs a single time since John Gruden took over. To be completely honest with you, and this is just me, and it's not just because I'm a Chiefs fan, but I mean, you pay a head coach so much money, and you expect so much because, he led a different team to a Super Bowl. You go 5 years of having this coach without even making the playoffs, you haven't won your division, you have basically nothing to show for it. I probably would have moved on from John Gruden already personally, but I think that they still have a lot of faith in him. I think that they still have a lot of hope that maybe he will turn out to be the coach that they paid him all that money to be. And I guess he just has a really long leash as far as, wanting to wait to get more talent around him and stuff.
Do you think that's because he won a Super Bowl with the Bucs?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. He also has a great football mind. I mean, all of his Monday night football analysts, was always great when he was in the booth. And then, I always used to take what he said during all of his draft coverage and stuff very highly back in the day. I mean, he's smart. He knows football. He knows how to evaluate players. Like the Gruden's quarterback camp segments that they always used to run. I always loved watching those. Like, he's smart. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to football. I don't know. I don't know if he has what it takes to be able to put an entire team together, and I think that's also why they hired Mike Mayock to be their GM, is to have somebody else be able to handle the scouting and the personnel part, and let him just focus on X's and O's, because I don't think he can do both. But even, I mean, that Super Bowl that he won with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that was 20 years ago now, something like that, getting close to there. I mean, I think that a lot of his fame and success in the league is because of that, and I think it's a little bit blown over at this point, if I'm being honest. This would be if this is year 6, I don't know if this is year 5 or 6. It's one of the two, but regardless, this would be a make it or break it year for me if I was the owner of the Raiders. I think you either make the playoffs this year, or you have to really, really consider making a coaching change.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they just have a lot of dead money. If they had to if they get rid of him, I don't know if that counts against the cap, or I'm not sure the coach's salary.
That's a good question, actually. I don't know how they calculate that either.
I don't know if that works in against it, but I also know that, I mean, a lot of teams, like for instance, when Patrick Mahomes was asked to, rework his contract this year, right? With in terms of his guaranteed money. To my understanding, the way that works, and if the team can afford it, what they do is they just front him the money as a bonus to start the season,
right? As
a signing bonus, and that doesn't count against the cap the same way his regular salary does on the 17-week basis or whatever, however that works. To my understanding, so he'll still get paid, the money's owed, but it's just comes in a different formality there. A lot of teams don't have that privilege. I mean, these are millions and billionaires, but still, I mean, if you got to pay someone, you got to pay, X, Y, and Z player, $30-40 million out of pocket sometimes, or 10, and even the other players, 10 to 15 out of pocket just up front. I don't know how many organizations, I would assume not all, and I don't think the Raiders are one of them, that can that have that kind of just capital laying around that they can do that. So I fortunately with the Chiefs, I think they're a little bit different of a story. And obviously there's some other franchises out there that are probably pretty cash heavy and that can afford to do things like that. But I wonder how much that that is taken into account when those type of decisions are made. So
if you were the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders now, how much more time do you give John Gruden before you're ready to just pull the plug and start over? Considering that, I mean, his $100 million contract was fully guaranteed, so even if they cut him now, if he has 4 or 5 years, whatever left it is, that $40 or $50 million is going in his pocket no matter what.
I take into the account that, they are in the same division as, the Chiefs. The Chargers have been decent throughout the years, if not, an above average team. The Broncos have been on the downside the past couple of years, and they can't seem to get any good quarterback play coming out of Denver. But I would say if he has a losing season this year, I give him probably one more year, and then I think you start to look in a different direction and see what else is out there.
Yeah, I agree with that. As far as that entire game goes, though, I was actually very impressed. The Ravens, I mean, they've been hit so hard with the injury bug. Their top 3 starting running backs have all, been lost for the season. Marcus Peters, also one of the best defensive backs in the league, also lost for the season. So, I mean, they got hit really hard with the injuries this year. They still played competitively, And at the end of the game, they still had chances to win. If Lamar Jackson doesn't have the 2 fumbles in that game that he did, the Ravens probably win. I still think that they're a very good football team. However, I will say, to the Raiders' credit, they did get down in a 14-0 hole. They were down by 14 points, and they found a way to come back. They were opportunistic. When Lamar did make mistakes, they cashed in on it. And overall, I mean, they did play a very good game. Darren Waller, their tight end, very good, very scary. He's up there with George Kittle and Travis Kelce as far as the best, tight ends in the league go.
Agreed.
And they actually have, started to put together a really good roster top to bottom. I don't think they're the same, laughing stock of a Raiders team that they have been, over the last, 10, 20 years plus. I think they definitely, they might be able to make some splashes this year. I will say, though, back to the whole, 1 week doesn't make a season thing. Definitely do temper your expectations with them. I mean, this is the same, franchise that beat Kansas City in the regular season last year and then, went on to miss the playoffs, have an overall losing record, and, vastly underperformed after that. So they're another team that I think I definitely need to see a lot more consistency from. Like I said, with the Saints and Jameis Winston, I need to see a lot more consistency, do it on a week-to-week basis, and really prove that you're a good team. I would say that exact same thing about the Raiders. I think you've been so bad for so long, 1 win. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, the Raiders are a playoff team, you know what I mean? Like, you need to be able to stack those wins together and really show that you're here to stay.
Let me ask you this, and then I think we should get into some picks if you're ready for it. But
yeah, absolutely.
After week 1, what are the top teams in each division? Top 3 teams in each division in your mind?
Okay.
Or in each conference, I should say.
In each conference, okay. I was about to go through all 8 divisions, which I could do, but anyway. So after week 1, if I'm looking at it, given these scores, we didn't even really go into the Kansas City Cleveland game that much.
We didn't.
That's I mean, what a game! That might have been the best game to watch all week.
It was a fantastic game.
The best 3 teams in each conference, so I definitely say Kansas. It's still Kansas City and everybody else in the AFC. I'm sorry, that might sound like a homer pick. I really don't think it is. You look at, the Titans were supposed to be such a great team. Look what happened to them week 1. The Bills lost. I mean, the Ravens are just so injured so early in the year. A lot of the, teams that are projected to be the best teams in the AFC lost this week, and Kansas City still found a way to win, come back from a, 12-point deficit and roar back in an amazing fashion. I think it's still Kansas City and everybody else. And then if I had to pick right now, I'd probably still say Buffalo is probably still the second best team. Maybe they just had a bad week 1. Maybe they'll be able to rebound. And then probably Pittsburgh. I mean, they did win 11 straight games last year.
Wow.
And I think that they have a really good defense. I mean, like, I might also be being too hard on Tennessee, but I kind of liked what you said about, maybe Ryan Tannehill's going to progress, and they commit a lot of penalties, and, if Derrick Henry also has a down year, I mean, if he's not the same 2,000-yard rusher he was last year, that's a huge blow to their offense. So, like, I think we still have, obviously, there's still a lot of football to be played. But right now, I think the 3 teams I'm impressed with the most are probably still the Chiefs, the Bills, and then I'd probably put the Steelers up there.
Okay, well.
And then if I went over to the NFC, you got to still put Tampa Bay number 1. I mean, they're the reigning Super Bowl champions, and they won in the first week, so you got to still put them up there. I really want to keep Green Bay in the top 3, but I mean, after just the absolute ass-kicking that they got handed to them, that's a little bit difficult. The Saints looked really good. The 49ers, the Niners I probably think are in the top 3 if they can stay healthy. I mean, they're just a really good football team, top to bottom. They're stacked on both sides of the ball. They did, however, I just learned today, they actually just lost, not Jerick McKinnon, who's their running back? One of their running backs just got put on IR, and then they also lost one of their corners, Jason Verrett, I think also just got a big injury on Sunday. So they're actually starting to pile up the injuries too. But I think if they can stay healthy, the San Francisco 49ers are probably up there. Yeah, and if I had to pick a third team, I mean, I'm going to keep Green Bay in the top 3, considering the
Okay.
fact that they just made the NFC Championship game last year, but they're definitely going to have to play a lot better going forward than they did on Sunday. What do you think?
As far as the AFC, I think there's some really good teams, and I think my third team, if I had to say, I would probably put Cleveland right now.
Okay,
I was
that's
impressed
respectable.
with them throughout the season. I thought the offense was good. I thought their overall running game was good. A lot of motion, a lot of jet X and sweeps. Going side to side, and just with Chubb and Hunt there, I think that's awesome. I think they have a good defense with Myles Garrett, kind of leading them there, and I think overall their front seven's fantastic. I think they have good receivers, and I think Baker Mayfield's a good enough quarterback that he's not going to ruin it for you. So I put them probably at number 3. I think number 2 for me. This is where it gets tough for me. Overall, I think if I could just say a couple teams I think are good. I think the Buffalo Bills are good. I think the people are sleeping on the Patriots. I
Okay.
think I think the Tennessee Titans can do some things. I'm not ready to count them out just yet. And I think the Chargers are going to be a team to reckon with as well.
Justin Herbert did look good on
Yeah,
Sunday.
yep. You do have Baltimore still there. It's tough. If I had to choose a team in second place,
Mm-hmm.
I think I would still probably pick Buffalo.
Right.
Maybe just by a hair, but I think Chargers are up there. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Justin Herbert made an MVP push this season. I think you still have Baltimore, and we'll have to see what kind of happens with the Titans, and
Right.
also the Steelers. I'm not a big believer, but I think maybe top 5, top 6 team in the NFC right now, in the AFC. I'm sorry.
So really, with the
Uh,
Steelers, to me, just to put a
sure.
pin in that, mainly
Yeah.
it's just their defense. I mean, like they're TJ Watt is so
Sure.
TJ Watt is so scary good, and then I mean
Yeah.
like that's really why I give them I think the credit right now is if their defense can
Right.
stay healthy, and I mean they
Right.
also lost like who was their linebacker that got hurt last year, Devin Bush. They also lost Devin Bush to an injury last year, and he's back and he's
Yeah.
healthy and he's also looking good. So I mean like if their defense can stay healthy, I think
Yeah.
they're going to be like at the very least a top 3 unit in
Yeah.
football this year. But sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead and do your NFC picks.
Oh, so you assume I'm just gonna put the Chiefs number 1? uh, yeah, and Kansas City has the best football player on the planet, and Patrick Mahomes, someone who I think can win you all the games. So yeah, the Chiefs are still my number 1 AFC team.
Hmm.
I think in the NFC, yeah, I'm with you on the Bucks as number 1 overall. I think they have too much talent on both sides of the ball. Tom Brady's still there and playing well. It'll be interesting to see how that team kind of progresses down season if they say injury free, I think there's a lot there.
Yes,
My
Pops. Patrick Mahomes is the best football player on the planet. You just need to accept that.
on the planet, man, should have forgot who time. All right. Best football player on the planet. He's a better quarterback than Tom Brady.
Tom Brady just he's not as athletic. He can't make the kind of throws that Patrick does. Did you see? You might not have watched the game, Bobs. Did you see that 50-yard bomb that Patrick threw to Tyreek falling out of bounds like side-armed, pinpoint accuracy 50 yards downfield for a 75-yard touchdown? Like Tom Brady's not going to make that throw today. If you forced Tom Brady to make that throw today, he would not be able to make it.
I think my second team. Oh man, It's tough. I think the second and third team. I don't know if I can identify a second and third team. I'd probably say Seattle, LA. New Orleans could be in there. Green Bay, potentially Dallas.
Oh God, I don't
Yeah.
want to hear that.
I think they're all in the mix. I think Dallas is on the back end of that. I'll at least say that. But and even the 49ers, because if they have some decent quarterback play, they have a stout defense. I think they'll be tough to beat. So
I think those are good picks, man. Absolutely. How long have we been going for now? We've been going for about an hour.
I got about tonight's my night, so I got about 30 minutes. If you know what if you're picking up what I'm putting down there.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yes.
no problem. Anything else you wanted to go over? Any like big injury news or anything, or did you just want to get straight into our picks for this upcoming week?
I think we did a great job, picking everything up and just kind of reviewing all the games. I'm excited for week 2. I think that's where you can start to really kind of build some evidence of who's in, who's out, who and who's going to play well this season. So
Absolutely.
I'm ready to get into the picks if you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeping in mind, there's also an extra game this season, so there's going to be 18 total weeks, 17 total games.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how that's going to go for teams having to play that one extra week. I want to see if there's like a super big, spike in injuries and if teams seem as well rested and stuff going into the playoffs. Like, I'm excited to see how this extra game is going to impact their overall morale and their shape and stuff. Yeah, so I wrote down earlier some big games this week coming up that I thought looked interesting. First one I kind of wanted to go over was the Buffalo Bills and the Dolphins. And the reason that I think this is so interesting is the game is in Miami. And Buffalo lost in week 1 and Miami didn't. So if Buffalo loses this game, they will be in an early 0-2 hole, and the Dolphins will be 2-0. And it's going to be, a hard uphill battle, I think, for Buffalo the rest of the season. Chasing Miami, and we all think that they're going to be an easy playoff contender, if not, maybe a dark horse Super Bowl pick. So I think, if Miami finds a way to upset this game and win, I think that would be huge for their entire division and everything going forward.
Big Viking, welcome in. Also, everybody, welcome into the podcast. Hope you guys are all enjoying the content so far.
How's everybody doing?
No, I agree. I think if the Bills go down 2-0 in that division with the Patriots and the Dolphins there, I think it makes it. I think it makes it. Hi, Gigs.
Hello, Giggles.
I did give your Niners a shout out though. I did say they were up there in the NFC, so that constituted something. Anyway, yeah, no, I think the the Bills can't really afford to go down 2-0. I think it's going to be competitive division overall. I do expect the Bills to come out and beat the Dolphins if I had to pick that game. But I don't think the Dolphins are going to be easy out. I think they have good defense. I think Tua is kind of in a position where I'm not down on the guy, but a lot of people are, and I think he's going to kind of have to show up this year and do some big things.
Right.
I would. I think I agree with you on all fronts and where you're coming from, and just that being a divisional game, and I think it's going to be great to watch. So.
One thing actually before we continue with our picks, because neither of us gave a score, there was actually one other big thing that happened this week that I wanted to talk about that
Sure.
I forgot until just now, and that was Ryan Fitzpatrick's injury.
Yes.
The reason that I think that is huge is one, Washington was actually looked at as a team by a lot of people because of their defense, and they have, like Scary Terry, and they have a few good players on offense. A lot of people were expecting them to compete in that division, but also his injury opens the door for Tyler Heineke, the rookie, or second-year player now, I think, But the more interesting part to me is, do you think they give Cam Newton a shot?
Yes.
He's the best quarterback on the free agent market right now. I think that's pretty obvious. Do you think they do give him a shot, and do you think they should give him a shot? And how do you think that plays out?
I don't know if they do give him a shot. I think they should give him a shot. If anything, I think he's a better quarterback than Ryan Fitzpatrick anyway.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I think he's a little more consistent. I don't think he's as turnover prone. I don't know if he has quite the arm but I mean, but you know, it's not like Ryan Fitzpatrick has always been the most accurate guy either. So it's just like he might be an upgrade at the position overall. I do think that can be a playoff team, if you know, considering how good the defense is. You know, I think they absolutely should go get Cam Newton, and pick him up. I mean, he's ready to play. He just got cut like what 2 weeks ago.
Right.
The guy's probably in great shape. I think it makes sense, and I think that you know, that could be a great position, a great fit for Cam. Considering you know that they're not a super pass happy offense anyway, so
Right.
you know, he might fit in well there.
Also considering like with his talent level and everything, and then also you could probably just sign him to like a veteran minimum contract, you know what I mean?
Right.
It'd be
Right.
very, very cheap, I think, at this point to sign him to your roster. And it's like
Right.
on one hand, from building a team and inside out kind of perspective, I could see how their front office would want to at least test out their young quarterbacks that they have, see what they have in them, you know, what they're capable of and that kind of thing. But on the other hand, if you look into a, you know, we want to win now mentality, I absolutely agree. I think Cam Newton by far gives them a better chance to win than any other, you know, healthy quarterback that they have on their roster right now. And I think that that's a move that they would be smart to make. You know, and who's to say you can't, you know, pick him up and sign him right now and then let him, you know, sit for a week or two, learn the playbook, you know, get used to the system and everything like that, and then, you know, still be able to test out your own quarterbacks for a couple weeks. And then if it's not working, you have Cam Newton in the building and you can put him in then. Really, I don't see a downside to it. And if I was the GM of the Washington football team, I would definitely do that. And I'm expecting them to make a move in the next couple of days, honestly.
Do you think they're a team who's ready to win now?
Mainly just because of the division they play in. I mean, like, their division is the Dallas Cowboys, who look good, who are probably the best team in that division. But other than that, you have the Philadelphia Eagles, the New York Giants, and then, you know, the Washington football team. It's definitely not what you would call, you know, the best division in football by any means. And I think they do have a really good defense. I think they do have, you know, some really good players on offense as well. And I think, you know, they're probably still the second best team in that division. I mean, you could maybe call it, you know, a wash with the Eagles, but I think that they have a chance to make the playoffs this year if everything goes right. Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, man, I see where you're coming from, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think the team has a lot of potential, and we'll have to kind of see what they do and how they perform over the next and you know, I know how they execute over the next couple of days, and if they do find a quarterback in free agency. So.
Mm-hmm. And I think maybe, you know, worst case scenario, if they don't make a move for him this week, I think, you know, theoretically speaking, let's say Washington plays this week and they actually have the Giants on Thursday Night Football. So in just 2 days here. But let's say Washington just totally lays an egg, and let's say, you know, Tyler Heineke throws, you know, 3 interceptions and they lose by 30 points. I think at that point it's definitely why not go sign, you know, Cam Newton.
Exactly.
What do you have
I think
to
it
lose?
makes the most sense of that as an organization, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, like, you got to do what you got to do to win. So
People are still paying money to go through those turnstiles, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And you don't want to lose your locker room. That's kind of how I feel like with the Bears. Like, if they don't put Justin Fields into the game, you know, like if they lose by 20 points again next week and they don't put Justin Fields in and let him start, I really think they're in danger of like losing that locker room, and I could kind of see that happening in Washington too. because again, you want to give your team the best chance possible to win. There's only so many games, and football is violent and it doesn't last forever. So some of these veterans on the team, if they also are bought into thinking that they can win now, then they're going to be upset if they don't feel like you're doing everything that you could to win and win now. So I think that's definitely something you have to consider.
Do you think that thing? Yeah, and yeah, I agree with what you're saying. A lot of those veterans, probably, especially on that defense and that front seven, say, "Hey, let's go win some football games." We know where we're at. We know what we're capable of. So if we can do some things and win here, let's go do it.
Absolutely agree. Speaking, I guess, what do you think about the Giants and Redskins game on Thursday night? Both of them are 0-1, so.
I think the Giants are actually a fairly well coached team. I think actually both teams are when it comes down to it. I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be competitive. I would probably, if I had to pick, I'd probably pick the Giants. They do have Saquon Barkley there, who is capable of a lot. Daniel Jones can have a good game. I think there's more upside in terms of an overall team and balance for the Giants. They would be my choice.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you, especially because Ryan Fitzpatrick just got injured. If he was starting, I might actually give the edge to the football team, just because the Giants are another team kind of like the Jaguars. I personally just don't think that they have a very good roster. They did make some moves on offense this year, so we'll have to see how that shakes out. But I'm also just not really that high on Daniel Jones. I think this being year 3 of his career, I think this year is really going to determine whether or not he's capable of being like a long-term NFL starter. So we'll have to see how that goes. But if I had to make a pick, which I do because that's the point of the podcast, I think I would also pick the Giants to win this game. I'm thinking I don't think it'll be a very high-scoring game, so I'm thinking maybe 20-13 sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'd probably pick the Giants, maybe 17-14, somewhere around there.
Okay. And I kind of, sometimes it's really nice to watch, excuse me, sometimes it's really nice to watch, low scoring, really close competitive games like that.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, it keeps it interesting the whole time. It keeps the viewers watching, right?
Absolutely. Going back to Buffalo and Miami, I don't think either of us ever gave our picks for there. We did talk about it a little bit already, but I'm definitely going to take the Bills there. I just find it really hard to believe that they drop 2 winnable games in a row like that, considering how good they're supposed to be. So I'm going to pick Buffalo there. And I kind of think this game might be a little closer as well. So I'm going to say, 24-20. That sounds reasonable to me.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, I would probably, I'm gonna go on a limb here. Who knows? This could be even a bit of a sleeper game for the Bills. Miami's sneaky good. They played us. They played Kansas City really, really tough last year. I mean, that was a close game, and I think they have a defense that really gets after it. I'm gonna go Dolphins 20 or 23-20.
Okay. I think that's really going to depend on, can Tua actually finally take that next step and be the quarterback that Miami traded up to draft. But
For sure.
I can't really argue with any of the points that you made. Miami definitely still is a good team, and I wouldn't be, floored if they did end up beating Buffalo. So, all right, good pick there. Next game that really jumps out to me on the schedule, I was looking at the Raiders coming off their really big win on Monday Night Football. Going up to Pittsburgh and playing the Steelers, who are also coming off a really big win against a possible Super Bowl contender. I'll let you go first on this one. What do you think about this game?
This is gonna actually be in a good game. I think that Raiders can air it out a little bit. I think they'll test the Steelers' defense, but ultimately, I think that Steelers' secondary is too good. And I think they can get after Derek Carr a little bit. I expect Ben to be steady, nothing too great. Maybe make a play here or two when the team needs it, and just not to lose the game for him. Juju Schuster is still there. They still got Claypool.
Mm-hmm.
If the rookie running back can kind of pick up some pass blocks and keep doing his thing in terms of Pittsburgh. I think they can beat the Raiders. I'm just not a huge believer in the Raiders overall as an organization. I think Mike Tomlin's a much better coach than Gruden. I'm gonna go ahead and say Steelers 17-10.
Ooh, low scoring. Okay, I like that. And by the way, chat, while we're giving our picks, please let us know what you think in the comments.
Yes, absolutely.
Love to hear what you guys think about everything as well. I pretty much am just going to echo what you said. I think the Steelers are a better team. I don't really believe in the Raiders. They're just one of those teams, given their recent history. I mean, kind of like I said when we talked about them earlier. I mean, they're a team that can beat the Chiefs one week and then get the doors blown off of them by the Jets the next week and lose that game. You know what I mean? They're very, very up and down. They're not consistent at all, and I think that's more than anything else what I really need to see from them is consistent winning football to really prove to me that they are a team that deserves to be taken seriously. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers just have a better roster. Like you said, Mike Tomlin's a better coach than John Gruden. Their defense is nasty. They still have some weapons on offense. And Big Ben's a 2-time MVP. So I'm also going to pick the Steelers in this game. I think it's actually going to be a little bit not as close as you picked it. I'm going to pick like 24-10. I really think the Steelers defense is that nasty that they're going to be able to bottle up the Raiders offense.
Okay, yeah, respectable. I think it's a game that I'll definitely turn on and pay attention to, and something I'm excited to watch. So we'll see.
Absolutely. Okay. Next game I have down on the list is the New Orleans Saints at the Carolina Panthers. I'm excited to see what Jameis Winston does his second week in this system. He really, really impressed me in his game against Green Bay. The fact that he was able to not only just the 5 touchdowns, which I mean Jameis has had games like that before, but really the thing to me was how efficient that he was, and he did a really good job taking care of the football. He didn't throw a single interception or fumble. And he looked comfortable and in control, and he looked like he had command of that offense, and he looked like he knew what he was doing. I don't think Michael Thomas is going to be playing. I think he's still going to be out a few weeks, so that is a negative for them. But they also still have Alvin Kamara, and then they also do have still a lot of really good players on defense. I mean, we saw what they just did to the Packers offense and Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones. I don't think this game will be particularly close, but I did like that it was a division matchup. Don't sleep on the Panthers, though. I mean, I think training for Sam Darnold was a good thing for them. He also looked pretty good last week. They still have Christian McCaffrey, and they also still have a defense that definitely should get some attention. I think that this game is going to be closer than the 38-3 showing that we got last week, but I do still think the Saints take it pretty handedly. I'm going to go 28-17 on this one.
Yeah, I'm just not a big. I think this is what's gonna really kind of be tough for the Panthers is just this defense that they're going up against again with the Saints. And Jameis had a good week 1. He did control the ball, so I could see that trend continuing. As long as Sean Payton is keeping him kind of within his means and what he needs to do. Like you said, Kamara is still there. They do have a pretty stout offensive line, and again, just a great defense. I don't really believe in a lot of what the Panthers are doing. I don't think they're that good of an organization, and Offensive, defensively, I think they have holes on both sides of the ball. I see them as a bottom of the league type of team, to be honest. I probably, they're probably, I could see the Saints winning this. I'm gonna go big, 28-6.
Ooh, man. Okay. Yeah, you don't really have much confidence in that Panthers offense, huh?
I do not. No, not a whole lot of confidence there.
All right. Two more games I wanted to talk about. I know you only got about 10 minutes left, and then we got to get you out of here. So, two more games we'll talk about really quick. We'll do our outro, and if you're going to be going live, I'll probably just throw the raid your way. But the biggest game, I think probably the biggest game of the week, just from like a potential playoff seeding matchup, is going to be the Sunday night football game, prime time. The Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Primetime Sunday night football under the lights. I'll let you take this one first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably be more excited about this game about a month ago. It's kind of disheartening to see Baltimore so banged up. Mm-hmm. Something I was discouraged by the Chiefs defense in the first 3 quarters, but I was encouraged by a few things in terms of pass rush in the second, or in the last quarter there. The Chiefs also are going to get Tyrann Mathieu back this game, who is just our defensive play caller, our leader, and someone who really leads the defense. Lamar is so good, and I still think the Ravens will probably put some points on the board. Mm-hmm. Against our defense does have holes, and we just, I don't know. I still see that offense as being somewhat potent, even though they're down their entire running back room. Overall, I think the Chiefs kind of win this one a little more handily. I don't think it's that close of a game. We've beaten them with the Ravens the past 3 times we played them with Lamar. Lamar's never beat the Chiefs. And I think the Chiefs kind of have him figured out a little bit. So I would say maybe 32-14 Chiefs.
32-14. Okay, I like that. I'll just kind of echo everything you said. I mean, Lamar Jackson's never been able to beat the Chiefs since he's been a starting quarterback. He's lost every time that he's played against us. I don't expect that to change today. They are unfortunately just banged up on offense, and I think the loss of Marcus Peters is still just going to be huge, especially when you consider all the speed, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Mecole Hardman, that we have on offense. Like, not having Marcus Peters there, I think, is going to be big. Le'Veon Bell just got signed to their practice squad, so I guess we'll see if he's going to play, and then we'll have to see what they can do to their offense. I still just don't trust Lamar as a passer. I think he's still dangerous with his legs. I think he is still capable of making a big throw, I don't know how capable he is of doing that consistently, and being that they are down all of their running backs, I just don't know if you have to put the entire game on Lamar's shoulders to be able to just air it out and win that way. Are you going to be able to keep up in a duel with Patrick Mahomes, who's made his entire career doing exactly that? So I also think the Chiefs win this game. I kind of also think it's going to be big. I'm gonna go 31-17. That sounds about right to me.
I think we've agreed on all games. What won so far?
Yes, I think the only one that you picked differently than me so far has been the Miami game.
Yep.
But let's see if that changes here. So the last game that I have down is the big Monday night matchup. The Detroit Lions against the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. All 4 teams in the NFC West lost last week, so they're all 0-1. This game could end up deciding, who's in first place in their entire division. With how bad this is maybe going to surprise some people. I'm actually leaning a little bit more towards Detroit in this game, and I know how bad they are, and they have been for a while. But I saw that loss that the Packers just took to the Saints, and I gotta be completely honest, that does have me concerned. Um, it is just 1 week, and the Packers are probably bounced back, and the game is in Green Bay, but to be completely honest with you, I almost just want the Lions to win. You know what I mean? They've been so bad for so long, and I like their new head coach, and I kind of just want to see them win. Um, just to keep things interesting, man, and that fan base deserves it. So I'm gonna go with the upside here. I'm gonna go with Detroit over Green Bay, and I'm gonna pick 21-17. I think it stays close.
Wow. I think we're on different sides of the fence here. I think Aaron Rodgers is a bad man, dude. Outside of Patrick Mahomes, is the best quarterback I've ever seen play the position. That includes Tom Brady, that includes Brett Favre, that includes the Manning brothers.
Right.
He's awesome. I mean, he can do so much at the quarterback position. I just have too much faith, and I can't see them. I just can't. I have such a hard time seeing them lose 2 games back to back, kind of the way they did.
Right.
I mean, and again, I don't think this game is gonna be a blowout. I'm not saying they would get blown out by the Detroit. I just don't see them getting beat. It's just Aaron Rodgers is just too good, and I think just too tough, and mentally, I think they'll get it back, and the Packers are. I would like to think that was kind of a fluke, kind of a one-off, but I'm not too concerned about it. If they do lose this game, I am, but
Right.
I think they come back and they do it big they do it big this game, and they probably they win 28-13.
Okay. Awesome. And I mean, like, if I'm being completely honest, I do agree more with you. I do think that probably was kind of an outlier, but I wanted to keep things interesting, and like I said, I kind of just want to see the Lions win. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I kind of just feel like their team deserves it after so long. And Green Bay's a wounded animal right now, so if there was ever going to be a time for them to pounce, like a lion does and take down their prey, I think this is probably their prime opportunity to do so.
Dude,
Um,
100%.
but yeah, that's all the game picks I had down. Is there anything else you wanted to go over before we get out of here?
No, man. I mean, this is a lot of fun. I want to thank everybody who came out and kind of just talked football with us. And Lance, thank you for hosting this week. I had an absolute blast. And
Absolutely, man. Go ahead and shout out all your social medias and everything where people can find you.
yeah, you guys can follow me at SwagMonstaFlexx. Obviously on Twitch. You can see my profile name right there below. Twitter, Discord, all that jazz. SwagMonstaFlexx. That's where you can find me. I stream Tuesday nights. Actually, gonna go live here in about just after this, and then I stream Thursday nights 7:30 Mountain Standard Time, and then again on Sunday nights for my other podcast, Heating Up, which is a variety podcast I do with Who's Anubis. So it should be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yes, everybody, please, if you have not dropped Swags a follow, please make sure you do so. The man makes absolutely amazing content, and he's also created a fantastic community of people that I'm very happy to be a member of myself. So make sure you definitely do go show this man some support. I also want to thank everybody for showing up today. It's always great to talk about football. I always have a great time talking and hanging out with Swags. And it's also
Likewise.
really great to talk to all of you in chat as well and see what you think about things. Week 1 was crazy. I think it's only going to get crazier from here. I've had a blast so far, and I really, really, really look forward to seeing what the rest of this season is going to look like. So, again, just thank you everybody for being here and supporting our podcast. It means the world to me.